We often think about our childhoods as these stories we tell, but what if they're actually more than that? What if those experiences, both the good and the bad, are physically written right into our biology? Well, today we're going to dig into the science of how that happens and, more importantly, what we can do to build resilience. That's the big question, isn't it? And the science is becoming crystal clear. The answer is a resounding yes. We're going to explore how these early life experiences literally get under our skin, changing our biology, and what we can actually do about it.
All right, so to really get this, we have to start with a really powerful idea that researchers have been studying for decades. It's known as ACEs.
So what is an ACE? Well, it's not just, any bad day. ACE stands for Adverse Childhood Experience, and it refers to very specific kinds of trauma that we now know can have these long-lasting effects. And believe me, these aren't rare. They are way more common than you might think.
The original landmark study broke it all down into 10 specific types, and they fall into two main groups. First, you've got abuse and neglect, things that are done directly to a child. And second, you've got serious household dysfunction, like living with a parent who has a substance abuse problem or dealing with domestic violence. These 10 are really the foundation for all this research.
And here's why this matters so much. Study after study from all over the world finds the same thing. The majority of us, well over half of all adults, report having at least one of these ACEs in their childhood. And get this, they tend to cluster. The data is pretty clear that if you've experienced one ACE, your chances of having experienced others shoots up by more than 50%. It's like adversity rarely ever travels alone.
This chart shows it perfectly. Scientists call it a dose-response relationship. And really, that's just a fancy way of saying it's like a rising staircase of risk. The more ACEs someone has, the higher the odds of future health problems. Everything from mental health struggles to chronic physical illnesses.
So that leads to a really crucial question. How? How does something that happens in childhood actually translate into adult health issues decades later? Well, the answer is hidden in the biology of a developing brain that's under constant stress. Okay, think about it like this. When you face a normal, everyday stress, your body's alarm system goes off, deals with it, and then it shuts down. It recovers. But with the kind of chronic stress you get from ACEs, that alarm system just stays on. It keeps ringing and ringing, leading to what scientists call allostatic load, which is basically biological wear and tear on your body and your brain. And I want to be super clear here. This wear and tear isn't just a figure of speech for feeling tired. No, brain scans actually show that this chronic stress leads to measurable physical changes in the size and the structure of key parts of the brain. So let's look at the three main players here. First, the hippocampus, which is vital for memory and learning, can actually shrink. Then there's the amygdala, our emotional command center, which can become overactive and hypersensitive to threats. And finally, the prefrontal cortex, the brain's CEO for making decisions, can end up with faulty wiring, which affects everything from our focus to our ability to control our impulses. Okay, I know that sounds pretty heavy, right? But here's the thing, and this is so important. It's not a life sentence. The brain is incredibly adaptable. And that brings us to the really hopeful, really actionable part of the story, the antidote.
Yeah, so after decades of research, scientists have identified this powerful counterbalance. They're called protective and compensatory experiences, or PACEs for short. You can think of them as a scientific buffer that can protect against the harmful effects of adversity.
And this right here is the absolute key takeaway. These positive experiences, they don't just feel good in the moment, they actively work to heal and protect our bodies and brains. They build what we call resilience, which is just our ability to adapt and bounce back when things get tough. Researchers have pinpointed 10 of these key PACEs, and they fall into two big buckets. The first 5 are all about relationships. Things like feeling unconditional love from a parent, having a mentor who believes in you, having a best friend, feeling like you belong to a group, and even the act of helping other people. And the second set of 5 PACEs, those are all about creating supportive environments. We're talking about having predictable routines and rules,
living in a home that feels safe and stable, having a hobby you love, getting chances to be physically active, and having opportunities to learn. All of this together creates a foundation for a child to really thrive. Okay, so this is all great information, but what do we actually do with it? How do we take this knowledge and intentionally build these protective things into a kid's life day in and day out?
Well, the best advice from all the experts is to just start small. Seriously, don't try to tackle everything at once or you'll get overwhelmed. Just pick one single pace to focus on. Work on making it a consistent part of your routine. And then, once it feels like a habit, you can build on that success and add another one.
Let's make this real. So let's take that pace of providing unconditional love. What does that actually look like? Well, for a baby, it's about being soothing and responsive. For a school-age kid, it might be about really noticing their effort, not just the result, and carving out some one-on-one time. And for a teenager, it's about shifting your role to be an empathetic listener and a guide.
And it's the same idea for another big one, like creating routines. This isn't one size fits all. It has to grow with the child. For an infant, it's those predictable meal and bedtimes. For a school kid, maybe it's setting a regular time for homework. And for a teen, it could be helping them set goals or just keeping up with family traditions, like having dinner together.
When you put it all together, the science of ACEs and PACEs sends this one incredibly hopeful message. Our past doesn't have to define our future. The impact of adversity isn't set in stone. Through these nurturing relationships and supportive environments, we all have this amazing power to heal and to build a more resilient future. So really, it all comes down to this question right here. What's one protective experience we can create starting today?